Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ma'am Salsa, our school principal, the admin staff, and our dear teachers. Ready na ba kayo? I am Dr. Moreno, and I will be discussing about mental health in the time of COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we will discuss only the basic and what we can do for our mental health. We all know that COVID-19 is a new viral infection that was declared as a public health emergency of international concern in January 2020. So it's been almost 2 years and still COVID-19 is present. We all know that the number of cases of COVID-19 is increasing and in some places decreasing. I did not include the numbers and statistics anymore because it is too stressful. Apart from the obvious risk to physical health and psychological impact of COVID-19, it also carries significant threats and dangers to our mental health, as higher levels of anxiety and stress are further exacerbated by the ongoing uncertainty of the situation. So based on WHO, mental illness is the third most common disability in the Philippines. Around 6 million Filipinos are estimated to live with depression or anxiety, making the Philippines the country with the third highest rate of mental problems in the Western Pacific region. First, let us define mental health. WHO defined mental health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being and not merely the absence of disease. WHO defined mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make contribution to his community. Based on the WHO definition of mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorder or disabilities. Fear, worry, anxiety, and stress are normal responses to perceived or real threats. We experience stress in our daily lives. Being students, what are the stresses that you experience? First, preparing for a class, studying the lesson for the following day, preparing for the examination or recitation, or beating the deadline for submission of reports and projects. So I was once a student too, so I understand your situation. Even now that I am already a doctor, I still experience stress, especially when I present lecture with my colleagues. So it's normal and understandable that people are experiencing fear and stress in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. Aside from that, we also experience sadness and loneliness, like being alone and loss of loved ones due to the COVID-19. Stress is a normal part of life. This could also be positive in some respect. So how is this positive for students? When students are stressed or pressured, they are pushed to study hard to get good grades. Study hard to get good grades for your college application and later for your job application. I am not from a rich family. Maybe you are asking how I became a doctor. I studied hard to get good grades, and armed with good grades, I was admitted at UP. During my time, tuition fee was 30 pesos per unit. So siguro nakatingin na kayo lahat sa ceiling and nagko-compute kung ilang taon na si doktora. During my daughter's time, it was already 1,500 per unit. But when President Duterte took over, tuition fee now in state universities are free. So armed with good grades, perseverance, and determination, you can fulfill your dreams. I always tell my students, yes, I was once a teacher too. I taught at Sumulong Taytay for 2 years while looking or scouting for scholarship in medicine. I told my students that being poor is not a setback. You make your dreams come true. Diskarte lang yan. Others work while studying, others apply for scholarship, and graduate fulfilling their dreams. Looking back, parang all the forces fell into places to fulfill my dream. But it is not always a smooth ride. There were rough roads too. So what are these fears in this time of pandemic? Fear of the new disease. and of contracting the disease and being quarantined and isolated and being hospitalized alone. Another fear, changes to our daily life. So what are these changes? Social isolation. People feel isolated. Our movements are restricted. May ECQ, MECQ, GCQ, and other CQs. This time, they changed the name. Alert levels naman, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is in support to slow down or restrict the spread of the disease. Uncertainty of the situation. We do not know what will happen next. The virus is mutating and new variants are appearing. So there is also altered daily routines. Nagbago yung mga routine natin na pang araw-araw. Financial pressures. Supposed to be this is for your parents, pero meron din kayong financial pressures. No face-to-face classes, walang baon, di ba? So faced with new realities of studying from home, online classes, blended learning, lack of physical contact with others, with your family members, friends, colleagues, and classmates. So it's important that we look after our mental health as well as physical and social health as WHO defined health earlier. Dr. Joanne Refarial of the Philippine Psychiatric Association said, mental health is a very complex issue of concern. We need to look at it as an interplay of a lot of factors. These factors are biological, genetic means namamana, psychological, social, and sometimes spiritual. Now, despite the aggressive interventions of the Philippine government to stop the further transmission of the disease, cases of COVID-19 are still growing, and with the emergence of the new variants, the Delta variant, which is 60% more transmissible than the UK variant, 3 times more contagious, seems to be deadlier, such as the cases in India, Malaysia, and now in Indonesia. During this time of COVID-19 pandemic, students are transitioning through an uncertain period in terms of their educational and personal lives. So what are the impacts of COVID-19 situation on students' performance? Sleep disturbance, eating problems, poor self-esteem, poor social interaction, poor academic performance, poor mental and physical health. These are some of the health-related issues of home-based learning. Prolonged sitting, physical inactivity may lead to obesity, disruption in routine on social activities may lead to anxiety and boredom, prolonged exposure to blue light on the computer will lead to eye strain or the dry eye disease. So why is mental health important? It affects what we think, feel, and act as we cope with life. It also determines how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. It is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood and aging. We all know that to keep a car going, we have to fill it with gas or diesel, check the tire, and water regularly. To see a bank balance grow, we need to make steady deposit. But how often do we have time to reflect whether we are giving ourselves what we need to flourish and live well? But most of us take our mental health for granted. We prioritize other things. Bukas na lang yan. I'll take care of my mental health next time. It may seem too big or too hard to handle, but it's not. There are some things everyone can do. But remember, we may all be caught in the same storm, this COVID-19 pandemic, but we're certainly not on the same boat. Why? The effect of the COVID-19 pandemic is felt differently from one person to another. Each individual has different coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are strategies people use in the face of stress to help manage painful emotion. So, you don't want your mobile phones or tablets to be low-bat, but you also don't want this to happen to you, low-bat. So, these are the signs and symptoms of having mental problems. So that you will know. Excessive worry, fear or anxiety, extreme mood changes, social withdrawal, dramatic changes in eating and sleeping, feeling sad and unhappy, inability to concentrate, unnecessary feelings of guilt, severe mood changes, loss of interest. So you can see that all those things are normal in our daily lives. You check the words excessive. So something that is exaggerated, excessive, extreme, or severe, that's the time you say that there is a problem in your mental health. So we will take care of our body. What are the tips in maintaining mental health and well-being? So we start with our physical health. Get enough sleep, at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Go to bed and get up at the same time each day. The usual, like before the pandemic, when you prepare to go to school. Stick close to your typical schedule, even if you are staying at home. I saw this from the Eurotex commercial, better sleep, better you. That is true. Participate in regular physical activity. Be active. Regular physical activity and exercise can help reduce anxiety and improve your mood. When we exercise, our body releases a hormone, endorphins. It is also called the happy hormone. WHO recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity per week or a combination of both. So eat healthy. Diet is important to mental health. Well-balanced diet. What is a well-balanced diet? So imagine your plate divided by 4, 1/4 for your proteins, 1/4 for your carbohydrates, 1/4 for the vegetables, and 1/4 for the fruit, and a little bit of fat. Avoid junk foods and refined sugars. Limit caffeine, although this is not for you, as it aggravates stress and anxiety. Aside from the well-balanced diet, other foods can change the chemical balance of our body. Pay attention to the ingredients of the food you eat. Research has proven time and time and again that what you eat affects your mood. There is this tryptophan, an amino acid found in poultry, oil-rich fish, beans, baked potatoes, oats, nuts, and seeds. It aids in the production of serotonin, a hormone that regulates the mood. Avoid tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. Smoking and vaping increases the risk for lung disease, and we all know that COVID-19 affects the lungs. The risk increases even more. Using alcohol to try to cope can make matters worse and reduce your coping skills. Avoid taking drugs to cope unless prescribed by your doctors. So limit the screen time. Turn off electronic devices for some time each day, including 30 minutes before bedtime. Make an effort to spend less time in front of the TV, tablet, computer, and phone. Beware of this social media addiction, which is very common during this time of COVID-19 and lockdown. While doing online classes, set aside days that you will not use your earplugs or earphones. Instead, use your headphones. Earplugs and earphones are inserted directly to your ears, so it may damage your eardrum. So be mindful of the level of the volume. The safe level of volume is at or below 70 decibels. Noises more than 70 decibels over a prolonged period of time may start to damage your hearing. But noises over 120 decibels causes immediate harm to your ears. So here is a guide so that you can compare the level of the sound. Normal conversation is between 50 to 65, whisper is 30, and a motorcycle running is 95 decibels. So make sure to have ergonomically fit environment and furnishing for studying. So maintain good posture, keep feet flat on the floor or on a footrest. Avoid twisting your trunk and neck. Distance from monitor is usually 20 inches or 51 centimeters or at arm's length. Knees at same level or slightly lower than your hips. Do not stay online for long without resting your eyes. This is the 20-20-20 rule to prevent eye strain, and dry eye disease. For every 20 minutes, take a break. Look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. So you should take a break. Relax and recharge. Set aside time for yourself. Even a few minutes of quiet time can be refreshing and help to quiet your mind and reduce anxiety. Many people benefit from deep breathing. So let's pause for a while and do deep breathing for at least 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, naka-recharge na tayo. Let's continue. So, other people benefit from yoga, tai chi, meditation, or you can have a bubble bath, listen to music, read a book, gardening, or anything or whatever helps you to relax. Select a technique that works for you and practice it regularly. Now, this time, let's take care of our mind, our mental health. So keep your regular routine, sticking to your bedtime, meals, bathing, getting dressed, work and study schedules, and exercise is important to your mental health. Set aside time for activities that you enjoy. Remember, predictability can make you feel more in control. Limit exposure to media. News about COVID-19 from all types of media can heighten your fear about the disease. It's either from Facebook, internet, TV, and radio news. Limit social media that may expose you to rumors and false information. Limit reading, hearing, and watching other news, but keep up to the date on national and local recommendations. Look for reliable sources like DOH, WHO, or the U.S. Center for Disease. Keep calm and stay busy. A distraction can get you away from the cycle of negative thoughts that feed anxiety. Enjoy hobbies that you can enjoy at home, like gardening, baking, sewing, and painting. So you can see on the figure that the zebra painted himself and is supposed to relieve stress. Clean out your closet, identify new projects. Doing something positive to manage anxiety is a healthy coping mechanism. So focus on positive thoughts. Always remember that life is like a camera. Focus on what's important, capture the good times, develop from the negatives, and if things don't work out, take another shot. Maintain a sense of hope. Work to accept changes as they occur, and try to keep the problems in perspective. Use your moral compass or spiritual life for support. If you draw your strength from a belief system, it can bring your comfort during difficult times. You can talk to your parish priest or spiritual advisors. You can read the Bible and watch online spiritual services on Facebook or even in YouTube. Set your priorities. Set reasonable goals each day and outline steps you can take to reach your goals. Give yourself credit for every step in the right direction, no matter how small. Reward yourself and recognize that someday will be better. Connect with others, this time our social health, to build support and strengthen your relationship. Life doesn't make any sense without interdependence. We need each other, and the sooner we learn, the better for all of us. This is a saying, no man is an island. Elementary pa lang siguro, alam na niyo na yan. So make connections, avoid social isolation. Find time each day to make virtual connections through email, phone, FaceTime. Imagine if it happened during my time, 1980s or 1990s. No mobile phones, no internet, no email. So ang hirap, no? You can imagine how can we communicate. So during that time, telephone was only PLDT, where long distance call was expensive and not everybody has the telephone. Then we have postal mail, no email. We call it the postal snail kasi ang bagal. It takes almost 1 week to reach. Then we have a faster one, like the email, but it takes a day before it reaches the person. We call it the telegram. So when I was studying in Baguio, so I would send the telegram. Ang payment ng telegram is per word. They count it per word. So mas konti, ang words mas mura. Since I was a student, my usual telegram was, nagko-complain ang nanay ko kasi send money or send rent. So making connection during our time was difficult, but now it's just one text or one click away. Enjoy virtual socializing like Zoom and other platforms. We have a group of doctors where we meet in Zoom. We have lectures, we celebrate birthday, anniversaries, and Christmas parties. We even have prayer meetings for our colleagues who are now COVID positive. So the new technologies have its good use during this time of pandemic. If you are studying from home, ask your classmates how they are doing and sharing coping tips. So do something for others. Check your friends, your neighbors, and family members. Ask if they need something like groceries, errands to market, or pharmacies. Support a family member or a friend. Family members or friends in isolation. Come up with ways to stay in contact or connected with them. Family bonding is very important. You can do things with your family like exercising together, play boards, games with them, or even clean your house or backyard with them. So together we can get through these difficult times and uncertain times. Now, despite all of these techniques and you've done your best efforts, if you find yourself still feeling helpless, angry, sad, irritable, hopeless, anxious, or afraid, lasting for a longer period of time, and makes you miserable and cause problem in your daily lives, and you find it hard to carry out with your normal activities, then it's time to ask for help. Who has developed the optimal mix of services pyramid framework? This is to provide guidance to countries on how to organize services for mental health. As the figure illustrates, the majority of mental health care can be self-managed or managed by the informal community health services like the community groups, religious services, organization, guidance counselor, priests, and even your teachers. When additional expertise and support is needed, a more formalized network of services is required. So in ascending order, this includes the primary care services, the doctors, followed by the specialists in the community and general hospitals, and lastly, the specialists in long-stay mental health institutions, like our National Mental Hospital. It can be seen that mental hospitals and specialist services, for example, present the highest cost. Yet, as the pyramid shows, they are the least frequently needed services. In contrast to self-care or informal community care, which has a high frequency of need and can be provided at a relatively low cost. So, where can you seek help for mental health in the Philippines? So, these are the list of organizations offering free counseling and online help.
At this juncture, our guest speaker will be answering the most frequently asked questions about mental health problems. Question number 1. How do I know if I'm unwell? How do I know that your mental health problems or issues are more serious than you thought?
So, we discussed earlier about the signs and symptoms of having a mental problem. So, all the symptoms are normal, except pag exaggerated na or excessive or sudden change. So, you have a mental health problem. Now, how will you know if it's serious? Pag the problem interferes with your daily activities. If it is difficult to control and persists for a longer period of time, and then you have thoughts of hurting yourself or having suicide thoughts, that is the time that the problem is serious.
Question number 2. What is the most effective or useful coping mechanism in dealing with mental health disorders?
So, coping mechanism are strategies people use to cope with the anxieties and stress. There's no specific coping mechanisms for every person. Every person acts differently and have different one coping mechanism fits to a one person, but it's not to another person. So what are these coping mechanisms that you can use? You can lower your expectations. So kung ni-expect nyo 100% yung quiz nyo or test, medyo i-lower nyo para hindi kayo masyadong ma-depress pag nakakuha kayo na mababa. So you can ask others for help, or you can stay away from the stress or avoid the stress.
Is there any possible way to identify if someone is pretending to be happy because of depression? And how would we deal with someone who has a mental health problem?
Okay, so a person who has a problem, there are times they pretend to be happy, but there are times, if you observe it faithfully, you can find the signs and symptoms that we discussed earlier. So how will you deal with them? Be a good listener. Listen to them without judgment. Do not confront them. And then, you can advise them if they want to talk to someone. You can reassure them that you are always there to listen. And you can give pointers, or the one we showed earlier, the online counseling, you can give it to them.
Question number 4. It is often illustrated in media that people with personality disorders are often victims of some kind of abuse, especially from parental figures. So, does parenting has a direct and scientific impact on the mental health illnesses of people?
Yes. Persons with or children with the personality disorders have different thoughts, actions to different situations than the normal one. So sometimes yung parents, hindi niya alam na may problema pala ang bata. So akala niya, nagbe-behave siya, not the normal way. So nagagalit yung parents. So another one, studies say that parents with, sabi ko nga kanina, di ba namamana? So parents who have mental problems, there's 3 times more higher risk na yung kids nila will also have a mental problem. Now, about parenting, there are 4 types of parenting, but we will only discuss the 2 types. You have the authoritative, which is parang democratic. The parents sets the rules and regulation, but they listen to their kids' feelings and considerations. So parang may demokrasya. The other one is the authoritarian. We can compare it to dictatorship. Ako masusunod. I set the rules. You follow. Little consideration to the kids' feelings. And based on studies, mas maganda raw yung authoritative. Give and take. Two-way relation, two-way communication from parent to child to parent. But there's no fixed parenting rule. No one fits all. Every parent may use varied types of parenting. So kung ngayon, pwede akong authoritative, tomorrow, dictator ako, or another time, I'll be friendly or neglectful. Parang I let my kids do what they want. So there's no fixed parenting.
Question number 5. What is the difference between anxiety and fear?
Yes. They're the same pero meron kaibahan konti. So let's take up fear. So in fear, the threat is real. Real, nandyan. In anxiety, it is perceived. Parang naiisip mo lang. So let's take an example sa fear. So, halimbawa, you're walking on a dark street and then suddenly a person comes to you and point a gun on you and declare, this is hold up. That is fear. Nandyan yung threat. And the reaction of the body is what we call the flight or fight response. You fight for your survival and you flee for your safety. On the other hand, anxiety, the threat is not real. So example, you're walking again, the same situation, you're walking in the street, a dark street, then you're thinking na, baka may mangyari sa akin masama. So, ang nangyayari, anxious ka na. And the reaction of your body is, bibilis yung heart rate mo, bibilis yung paghinga mo, pagpapawisan ka ng malamig. So, that's the difference between fear and anxiety.
Question number 6. What should I do if I'm afraid of asking for help from my parents or guardian? Is there any possible way we can have free counseling to deal with our mental issues, like websites, hotlines, and more?
So always remember the pyramid. You start with the self-care. If you cannot handle it, then you go to the next step, the informal community healthcare. So you can talk to your best friend if you cannot talk to your parents. Then you can talk to your teachers, your guidance counselor. Then you go higher the spiritual advisors, then the next step, the doctors, and then the specialists. I already discussed about the online free counseling that you can call.
Question number 7. My parents are super conscious of my grades. It gives too much pressure on me. I'm trying my best to do good at school, but there are times I felt down, unmotivated, and tired. What should I do?
So that was my problem too. Since I am the eldest, my parents have very high expectations. So every time I show my father my grades, ang sagot niya, eto lang grades mo, you are a full-time student, hindi ka working students like me. So I don't take that negatively, I take it positively. Parang constructive criticism. So, namomotivate ako to push harder and study harder. So, you too, take that positively. And if you're down, just follow the tips. You can relax, talk to your friends, painting, anything. The one that we discussed, you apply it so that you will be motivated again. Before I end, let me tell you a story about The Story of the Pencil by Paulo Coelho. So a boy was watching his grandmother write a letter. At one point he asked, "Are you writing a story about what we've done? Is it a story about me?" His grandmother stopped writing her letter and said to her grandson, "I am writing about you, actually, but more important than the words is the pencil I'm using. I hope you will be like the pencil when you grow up." Intrigued, the boy looked at the pencil. It didn't seem very special, but it's just like any other pencil I've ever seen. That depends on how you look at things. It has 5 qualities, which if you manage to hang on them, will make you a person who's always at peace with the world. So the first quality of the pencil. The pencil is a great thing and capable of doing great things. You are capable of great things, but you must never forget that there is a hand guiding your steps. We call the hand God, and He always guides us according to His will. The second quality of the pencil. Now and then, I have to stop writing and use a sharpener. That makes the pencil suffer a little, but afterwards it's much sharper. So you too must learn to bear certain pains and sorrows because they will make you a better person. Sabi nga, no pain, no glory. The third quality of the pencil always allows us to use an eraser to rub out any mistakes. This means that correcting something we did is not necessarily a bad thing. It helps us keep us on the road to justice. Number 4, quality of the pencil. What really matters in a pencil is not its wooden exterior, but the graphite inside it. So always pay attention to what is happening inside you. Finally, the pencil always leaves a mark. In just the same way, you should know that everything you do in life will also leave a mark. So try to be conscious of that in your every action. So you are like a pencil and you are important. Continue self-care practices to take care of your mental health and increase your ability to cope with life's ongoing challenges. Current strong feelings will fade after the pandemic, but stress won't disappear from your life. As with any storm, it brings with its destruction and it will eventually pass. Just like this pandemic, it will end. The more the violent the storm, the more quickly it will stop. We have to learn to face the storms in our daily lives. So I hope what we discussed today, keep it in your mind and practice it to maintain your mental health and well-being. And also, always remember the story of the pencil.